So our conversation continues. We have very many people who are on our X space and they'd like to speak. I see we have Ras G who was requested to speak. You have you've been given the mic, but we'll come to you shortly. We'd also like to hear from the people who are on X space. You can sending your comment there. You can type your comment on YouTube. You can type your comment on Facebook. What's your experience in the hands of the police? Philip Mwangale, rights advocate and governance expert, has been here with us since 7 a.m. He's graciously said, let me stay. Yeah. So that, you know, there are cases that come up. I can also just give in the legal aid here on what happens when you face some circumstances. I think let's just go straight to the experts, right? Right. We have Ras G, Gian Wahome. You've got the mic. What's your experience in the hands of the police? You can tell us your story or what you think.
Thank you, my fellow fixers, and thank you for having that guest today. Very insightful. First, Latif, not very good experience from police, right from when you report the kind of language that is used there. It's very intimidating. But today I will not focus on that, but I'll focus on the general, how the police have conducted themselves, right? From Rose, Boniface issue, Kenjo Koma hearings also going on. We have a police who don't want to appear before that. So it really sends a very disturbing scenario to the nation. Right now, if your relative or your friend is taken to the police station, you are worried. You are worried as a family. Mpaka hauwezi kubali hata mtu alale huko. So police stations have become a den of, they are like death traps. They are not, we are at all time, the confidence between the people and the police is down. But this, again, and this, Latif, allow me to go a little bit, kidogo nyuma kidogo. When Azimio protests were there, we had so many reshuffles. And sorry to put it this way, people thought that let us bring people who are maybe pro-home. They can allow us, they can help us safeguard this regime. And later on, we have seen police officers who have been rewarded by impunity. Na sasa hii imefanya na imeingia. We saw the other time, we have seen even yesterday, after Albert, we went to this Hoka. After Hoka, yesterday, there's a guy who is being shot in Kasarani. There's so many guns that are out there to people who are so much determined. But because they have been rewarded by the impunity in the police force, now they feel entitled. They can use firearms the way they want. Yesterday, I was at the Rex inquest at Milmani Law Courts with our fellow comrades. Even the language that the police at the dock being interrogated, you could see that. Utaona ile madharau. You can see that pride. Now there's something that we need really to fix, Latif, in this country. We need, as we head to the election, you can see now they are collaborating with even goons. They can give goons the protection to entrench impunity. And that, again, Latif, that is not a good message to the country as we prepare for an election. We should be very careful. We are not treading on a very right path. And to me, where I sit, lazima tuongee haya mambo. Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, Wahome. If you'd like to contribute to this conversation and you're in the X space, request for the mic. Lyoto will give you the mic. We'll come to you. We'll hear from you. We have somebody who has also commented on YouTube. Kimani Gashuki.
Yes, and even as we...
And Mohammed Abdi.
And Mohammed Abdi.
Read one or two.
Yes, 102. I also appreciate Ras G being intentional to the point where he's even following up on the cases of some of our comrades who we've lost. I think that's amazing. That just shows that he's trying to push through for justice. And I think a lot of us, what can you do where you are with what you have? He's making sure that he shows up and listens in. Kimani Gashoki says, was arrested unlawfully around Alsop's area on my way to work. They judged me from my hair and my earpods. Pouch. Ya walisema ni ya kubeba miadarati and that I'm a phone snatcher and I felt so bad. Waliniforce to withdraw all the money in my M-Pesa wakachukua, nilibaki bila hata fare. Sijawai wasamehe.
Wow.
Yeah. I can 99% chance that he has dreadlocks.
I was going to say dreadlocks, etc. And once again, even as we ask you to share your experiences, unfortunately, most of them might sound like this. If you do want to share anything different, please also feel free to do so. We are just welcoming all views, even though we can understand and see how they're leaning more towards one than the other.
Edwin says, like the guests, I'm one of those waiting for their cases to be attended to while holding on to a piece of paper called an OB since September 2023.
23.
It's very, very
like
unfortunate.
Akili said, so you take a case before them, they're like,
Haijabamba. That's basic. Give me something to.
You know, the police have most of them actually, they have a tendency to give you experiences. So you go report something and say, hii hata kuna mwingine alikuja hapa juzi alifanyiwa kama hivi. Hata hii yako.
Hii yako baya mbaya. Waenda tufanya hivi.
Oh my God, that's so accurate.
Wait.
Just start advising you.
So
they tell you about how big a problem what you're going through is. Yeah. How the proliferate. Because I went to help a friend report a crime, and they're like, this is becoming a big problem. Hata last week kulikuwa na huyu. Hata last week.
Oh my gosh. You're like, but siunisaidie kwanza.
And then nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
They wanted money, of course.
I'll speak. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Philip.
One of the things that could be solutions, you see, most of the time we have utilized the power of social media to mobilize and, to do advocacy. But at each police station, you have communities. Unfortunately, the community in policing, and one of the viewers mentioned this, community policing is not what it's supposed to be. We are supposed to have county community policing boards or authorities. They have never kicked off. They have never been put in place by design. Because once you do that, then you are giving the people power. But one of the things that could happen is the communities around these police stations should start piling pressure on their police stations to do something. If you go to a police station, and it's difficult, I'm saying it maybe from a point of privilege because I have access to certain tools that could pile pressure. But if we can mobilize on social media, we can mobilize and do some advocacy, then do not shy away from insisting that the police do their job. It could be very tiresome, it could be very exhausting, but if you can insist that the police do their job, if you can support anyone in piling pressure on a police station, then please do so. It's those small acts that incrementally build towards change and transformation.
Little actions.
We were talking about transformation.
Yeah. Are we using the word transform?
Transformation.
I don't know. Transformation. I don't know. Jeremy Mutuma says, I was arrested in Nakuru in the year 2022 for walking near a police Land Cruiser parked alongside the road. I love the way he's decided, let me add every detail to just emphasize how ridiculous I think my arrest
ridiculous. And also, I was reading that and it was because I was picturing. So Jeremy is just walking in Nakuru and then there's a police car. There's a police car there. Kuja hapa kijana. Mbona wanapita kando ya gari ya polisi? What are you supposed to respond?
Nilikuwa tunatembea.
Unatembea kwa nini? Hauoni ni polisi?
The police actually effect a modern, polished kipande system. What we had before, you can't go to certain places unless you show why you are supposed to be there.
Why you're supposed to be there.
It's like most of the police officers treat us as though we must explain our existence in the first place.
Wow, that's very
which is
profound.
unfortunate, including even walking past 6 p.m. I have seen and I've observed, you go downtown here in Nairobi, Moi Avenue, Tomboya, downwards as you proceed towards Haile Selassie, and the number of people who are harassed by police officers in the night is that number is big. Most of them don't end up in either Kamkunji or Central because you have to part with money. Because you must explain what you are doing on the street around that time. Yeah. As though you're not supposed to be there in the first place.
You're not supposed to be out.
I was told a story, and this was in Thika by a friend, and she was telling me that, you know, some of us were walking, and they're just young ladies, they're walking from a club, they're going home. Well, I think they're walking to another club, but, well, there's lighting and there's all, right? And then they were stopped by these cops. And they're told, kujani hapa, ingiani kwa gari. Si ati mmefanya makosa. Nataka tu mtu keep company. They get onto the police vehicle. There are other people in the police vehicle. You're just chapping laps with them, right? So this one of them, this was her first experience with the cops. Now she was so traumatized. She started praying. You know, she's just praying and loudly, you know, oh my God, oh please. Now the others stopped now even worrying, and there's now laughing at her like, hey, see, you relax. Is
this your first time?
Yeah, it's your first rodeo, sis. This happens. Yeah.
They were released late into the night, around 2 a.m. or 3 a.m., not at the police station, but somewhere, with everybody else who's been arrested, all of you together. So, you know, some of them may have been robbers, some of them may have been...
Who knows?
Nyinyi wote mmeachiliwa pamoja, sasa endeni mahali mko mnaenda.
So
far from where you were picked up, so far from where you intended to go, and they just say, cops are like,
your crime being walking.
Yeah. We'll come back to more responses in the conversation. The two quick scenarios that come to mind. One, not too long ago, maybe a year or two, you know, it was a traffic offense that didn't need to escalate. It was, we had not committed a crime. Let me just remember. Because at first I was like, the roundabout, what? So then he said, I need to come in the car. And my colleague and I were like, but absolutely not. We can follow you if we need to go.
Police station.
To the police. We were very calm, not condescending. This man flipped. I think it was the audacity to be calm. And, you know, we were just like, but our rights, you know that thing where you say when you start saying your rights, they're like, unaongea nini.
There's nothing that
it triggers them.
More than
but
saying,
in the end, he forced himself into the vehicle. And we went, and then we still refused to alight, you know. And then somebody came from the station. You know, he had jammed and gone to call his colleague because they were like, we're not going anywhere. And he's the only one who kind of de-escalated it. It's not that everywhere I go, I'm recognized, but, you know, sometimes you're cognizant, but I wasn't 100% recognizable that day, sunglasses, hat, whatever. But yeah, this gentleman came and said, what's the matter? And I said, I think you need to ask your colleague why he's entered our car and brought us here. For a traffic offense, he hasn't explained, even when we asked, but he just got upset. And he de-escalated it and just said, just go. So I don't know if it's my voice, I don't know. That was one. The positive one was many years ago, and we were doing a story on the gender desks, which are supposed to exist in every police station because of the issues around GBV. And it was an undercover report. So this person did not know that there was a recorder for the reporter, because we wanted to see how do police interact with victims. Most of the time, it's re-victimization, right? What happened? What did you do? What did you do that you were here? To our surprise, because we were like, we know this person has no idea who this particular reporter is, but she was so helpful. First of all, are you okay? Do you need anything? Okay, just wait. Let me try and get your number. Too later, we had to be like, okay, so it was just, because we also had to come up with the case. So two extremes, but it's just painting to a lot of the time, those cases of that woman who was at the gender desk, I feel like it's becoming fewer rather than the majority. Well, a decade ago, I think there was a semblance of not everyone, and it usually never is, but the cases now of extortion and harassment and bullying are on the rise, and I think we just have to call it like it is.
True. Yeah. And again, the systemicness of it all. I already shared mine, you know, just...
all of us is like, what's your story?
What's your story?
Was like, I was walking.
Literally just quite walking. But there's a story also of a man who was robbed in Nakuru, and we carried this story a few weeks ago. And this is still on the police failing to protect and serve. A Nakuru boda rider is concerned over his safety after identifying his attackers, who are officers currently stationed at Nakuru Central Police Station, when he walked in to report the loss of his phone and motorcycle. Daniel Nganga was lured by an officer in civilian clothes posing as a client and was attacked on Friday night last week. Elsewhere, Homa Bay County are alleged to have, of course, tortured and injured another fisherman after arresting him during an altercation. And NTV's Bridget Ngana has the details of that story. But this is Daniel Nganga, I believe, speaking. Let's listen in on what happened. Unaibiwa, unaenda ku police station, and you're like, you look familiar kidogo. Ni kama nimeona mahali. Oh wait, you're the ones who robbed me.
Huyu mwenye nimebeba alininyonga. Mambo ikageuka. Sasa kuninyonga, mwingine akatokea kwa kichaka akiwa na panga. Kuna boma iko hapo yenye haijajengwa, walikuwa wamejificha kwani hapo hivyo hapo ndani. Sasa venye walitokea hivi na nikanyongwa kabisa, na huyu ako na panga. Sasa mwenye alikuwa nilipe, huyu mzee tuliongea naye na simu, akasema mumalizie mdunge kisu. Mimi venye walikuwa ameninyonga, singeongea, niwafanya tu mkono hivi. Msiniue. Sasa hawakuniacha bure, wakaangalia kila kitu yenye iko kwa mfuko. Wakatoa simu, nilikuwa na shilingi 50. Nilikuwa kama tu naingia kazi. Nilikuwa na 50, wakaibeba yote. Nikakuja nikaelezea watu kadhaa wa boda. Mali wale tunabebaga nao usiku. Nikamwambia iko hivi na hivi, na nimestuka kwenda kuona wenye waliniibia piki ni mapolisi. Sasa mimi nikawapea mawaidha. Mimi nataka nirudi kwa OCS ndio nimueleze wenye waliniibia piki ni watu wake wa kazi. Sasa mimi kufika hapo nikaingia kwa OCS direct. OCS hakutaka kuniona. Akaniambia, wewe nilikwambia kesi yako iko kapteboa.
So walikuwa wamepewa pesa, wakakataa, wakanipeleka kwenye kituo chao kwenye sel. Wakaenda wakatoa walio kuwemo vijana wawili kwenye sel, nikabaki mwenyewe, wakanipiga pingu. Wakanihanga hapo, ndio wakaanza kunichapa, wakaniumiza. Baada ya kuona wameniumiza, wakanificha hapo kwa sel hadi usiku saa 1. Ndio wanataka kunitransfer ili wananchi wasijue chochote kwamba wameniumiza.
The story featuring Daniel Nganga being robbed and then seeing his robbers in a police station aired this week. The one that Bridget was following up in Nakuru was from the previous week. But it does speak to really big problems and rot in our system. Who is the goon? Who is the criminal? Who is the police officer? The police commander, Michael Moura, also had something to say. Let's hear from him.
Ukweli ni kuwa mhalifu yote ambaye atapatikana kwa kuhusika kwa hii wizi ya pikipiki na pia kwa hii robbery with violence atachukuliwa hatua kulingana na vile sheria iko.
Akipatikana atafanywa nini?
Atachukuliwa sheria. Atachukuliwa hatua kulingana na sheria.
Kulingana na sheria. Okay. So
they're saying they will leave no stone unturned.
Yes.
You know those buzzwords.
We'll get to the bottom of the matter.
There's a CID director who was very known for "will leave no stone unturned." I think Eric, you smile because you remember him. He used to wear sweaters. But I mean, he would say that, and he would be standing on the very stone that
that is not to be left unturned.
He has already done it, Philip. By the time he was speaking,
but
he turned the stone.
But this, I've encountered and dealt with so many of these cases. But every time I hear the experience of people who have, experienced brutality at the hands of the police, it still gets to me. I mean, an individual has been attacked by the police. The police commander says anyone who will be found culpable. They're not even admitting that a report was made against their police officers. We have anyone who will be found culpable. We have not seen the IAU, even though it's a skeleton department. We have not even seen IPOA come out to say they will start investigations on that issue, which is very sad. But we are living in very perilous times because if you contrast that with experiences in the past, today police brutality and excessive use of force is arbitrary. You don't have to have committed a crime or have been involved or be connected with a crime for you to face the police excessive use of force or brutality from the police. Anyone really is a target. And I'm saying that because if you look at the numbers of people who have been killed by the police in an extrajudicial manner, people who have been abducted, there's something called enforced disappearance where, people are just disappeared. They could be arrested. I mean, you know these are police officers, but then they're never found. That has been happening over the years. But the fact that now it is anyone, anyone is a good target. Before, and especially at the coast, where enforced disappearance was happening quite a lot, it was because, they said they were countering violent extremism and terrorism. So you had a demographic that was a target.
Profile.
But now, anyone on the street, if anyone is unhappy with what I've said here today, can mark me as a target. And this has happened before. If I may just share a personal experience. Last year, because of the work we were doing, and this I'm saying, appreciating that there are people who went through much more grievous harm from the police or from security apparatus. Because of the work we were doing, some of us were trailed for quite a bit. To a point where, I could not take one route home. I had, my fuel bill was very high because you have to move around in circles. Those things you see in movies. We had to do those things because you are not safe. If I had to go home, I have to switch off my phone from where I am so that there is no
traceability and tracking.
If I'm leaving home, I have to go switch on my phone at the location I am going. And this is not an isolated experience. I have so many colleagues, so many people who have experienced this, and it is escalating.
We're going to have a caller, Jack, coming in from Nairobi. I can also see Felix Okoth and Eduardo on the X-Space. They've requested the mic. Felix and Eduardo, stay on the line. Let's first hear from Jack. Jack, good morning, calling in from Nairobi. Jack, zima TV ama radio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Jack. What's your question or comment? You can also turn down the volume of your TV or radio so we can hear you.
Okay, swali yangu nilikuwa nauliza hivi. Ikiwa polisi wetu wako hivi sasa hatuna imani nao. What if kama mtu anaweza patwa na shida, anaweza report wapi ambapo anaweza kuwa na uaminifu kwa kwamba atasaidika kikamilifu? Kwa sababu naona kimejaa na mambo mengi yenye inatoa uaminifu. Sababu nimeuliza hivyo.
Ni swali nzuri, Jack. It's a good question.
Yes. Respond to that after we hear from Felix and Eduardo. I think let's give Eduardo, you have the mic first. Edu Sim, let's hear from you, and then we'll hear from Felix Okoth.
Thank you. Ever heard of the phrase "good from far, but far from good"?
Yep.
Yeah, my experience last year, July. My wife was just driving to school with the kids, and she got an accident. And then during the accident, the OCS was present, and what I was told was that when my wife was unconscious and being rushed to hospital, the OCS took the valuables from the car. She had some things that she uses as teaching aid at school. And I thought they are safe because the paying guys told me that, and one of the soldiers also confirmed. So after I had dealt with the accident issues, you know what goes around, I went to ask for the items from the OCS Kamulu, and up to today, I have never been given those items. And then I asked myself one question: what about if she had things that actually what she had was around 25,000 valuables amounting to around that amount? I'm asking, if in an accident scene, are we going to trust the police? because
we lost Eduardo,
but we got the gist.
We got the gist of the story. I mean, this is an accident scene, and the people who ought to be responders and also helping you in such a situation, we just continue facing that. So if you'd like to ask for the mic, you can request the mic. Amlioto will give you the mic, and then we can hear from you. There are also comments on YouTube.
There are so many comments on YouTube, and for Philip, I'll still try and see if we can have a moment to just think through models and or what could happen. Quite a number. I'll try read through them quickly as we get to more experiences. Here we go. Okay, that one we've already done. Just went to report, this is Lenny, just went to report theft with evidence in 2021, and then I was told to go, I shouldn't laugh, sorry, to go arrest the culprit and bring them. Enda kamate na ulete tutadili na yeye, sorry. Shouldn't let. It's just so ridiculous. I just, and then there's the Kikombe, and then those metal spikes they used to block roads. I got a puncture near there and was booked for destruction of government property. They said they're puncture.
Where?
Then a teacher colleague went to report a student for being violent towards the colleague. At the police station, the cops laughed and sent him off. Umeshindwa kuchapa watoto? Where? On Monday, another one called him mtu wa kofia kwa street. I didn't answer since that's not my name. He came for me asking me, Mbono ananiita, and I'm not responding. I told him I have a name.
Ati mtu wa kofia, we?
Mtu wa kofia.
This is the dreadlocks guy.
Yeah,
the one who was arrested earlier.
Nathan Navachenja says the hubris of police and the evasive accountability is wanting. Tumangale, how can the citizens participate on reforms at the drafting stage, apart from filing complaint reports? So, Philip, you'll come back and speak to that and also the models, but I believe we have a pretty important caller on the line.
Jonah Kariuki is the father of Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, who was shot and injured by what everybody sees as the police on Tuesday, and he's been in hospital. Mzee Kariuki, good morning. Asante sana for speaking to us. First of all, how is Boniface doing this morning?
Hello.
Boniface akwaje leo asubuhi?
Saa hii sijafika huko. Ndio nataka kwenda huko.
Na jana mara ya mwisho ulipomtembelea?
Jioni tulienda huko saa 4. Tukakaa huko, alafu tukarudi, ikawa anapelekwa dieta. Sasa zaidi alirudishwa dieta. Mpaka saa 11:30 tena akarudishwa. Lakini tulimuona, lakini yako mahali vizuri vile.
Ai, poleni sana. Sisi wote tunaendelea kumuombea apate nafuu, atoke hospitalini, arudi nyumbani, endelee na kazi yake. Mzee Jona, wewe unafanyaga kazi gani?
Mimi nakuaga hopi ni bado. Juu hata siku hiyo alipigwa, hata mimi nilikuwa na mask, nilikuwa na kuja kuuza.
Na tuliona kwa TV ukisema wewe ulisikia kuna mtu amepigwa risasi, lakini baadaye ndio ulikuja kujua ni kijana yako Boniface.
Baadaye ndio nilijua kitu saa 2 ya usiku, saa 3.
Nikuulize, kuna polisi yote ambaye amekuja kwako akasema uandike statement ama amekuhoji ama amesema wanafuatilia hiyo mambo? Umeongea na polisi yote?
Hakuna polisi tumeongea na yeye. Mtu tuliongea na yeye jana asubuhi. Alinipigia ndio yeye.
OCS alikwambia nini?
Aliniuliza namba ya kitambulisho, akaniuliza niandike report. Then nitarudi niende, sikuweza kuenda.
Hivyo tu. Hey, tunafuatilia hii maneno. Of course tunataka Boniface apate nafuu na endelee kupona, lakini pia tunataka kufuatilia justice kwake, haki yake. Na sijui kama kuna report umeandika yoyote ama wewe mwenyewe kujipeleka.
Wapi huko?
Kwa polisi.
Kwa polisi tu ni maswali yaliniuliza kitambulisho, namba.
Hivyo tu.
Tukaa hiyo ni kidogo.
Na watu wa IPOA?
watu wa IPOA tujaongea.
Jonah, kando na huyo OCS, kuna mtu mwingine yote ambaye amekupigia simu amekuongelesha, hata tuseme viongozi wa Nairobi, ofisi ya governor wa Nairobi, kuna mtu yote ambaye amekuongelesha?
Nikuulize, unapata msaada wowote? Whether ni sijui kama kuna mtu amekupigia simu, msaada wowote tu from community, police, government, unapata msaada wowote kweli? Hujapata? Okay.
Wewe kama Hoka, Jonah, experience yako na polisi na Kanjo, ukiweza kutuambia iko vipi?
Mimi unajua hiyo kazi ya Hoka na ndio nimelea nayo hiyo mtoto. Toka akiwa mdogo mimi hiyo ndio kazi ile nafanyaga. Ndio nimemlea nayo, nimemsomesha nayo. Na mpaka hata Kanjo kuna saa ingine walikuwa hata wanatupiga. Ama tunatupiza hivyo, lakini tunarudi tunaelewana juu tuko kazi sisi wote.
Kuelewana ni kumaanisha nini?
Kuelewana ni kumaanisha mimi nakujua, wewe unanijua, unajua niko kazi, hata ukinishika na vile tutaongea tumalizane. Lakini ikifika kiwango hiyo ya kama kijana vile alipigwa risasi. Hata polisi si ati wajatushika juu mimi hata kitambo mimi nilikuwa nashikwa hata kukaa jela na kaa nimekaa. Lakini naona hajawahi fika kiwango hiyo.
Umewahi pelekwa jela sababu ya kazi ya hawking?
Hawking imenipeleka, lakini si mara mingi hiyo. Juu sasa saa ingine uko na pesa utatoa fine. Ama utachagiwa na Hoka wenzako.
Wakuja kukushika wakati ambapo unashikwa, sababu tunaonaga story mara mingi sana. Polisi wa Kanjo wanakimbizana na Hoka. Saa zingine tunaona pia Kanjo anakuja na polisi, pia polisi wa uniform wanawasaidia kushika watu. Hivyo vile wanafanyaga. Hata kama si wewe, Hoka wenzako, kuna wale ambao unaona kabisa huyo ameshikwa na hana hatia ambayo amefanya, amepelekwa ndani na hana hatia, na mnamchangia atoke.
Mtu anashikagwa. Unashikwa, lakini si uko kazi, unashikiwa tu kuuza, si ati umefanya kitu kingine.
Boniface amewahi shikwa?
Boniface pengine ni kazi tu inashikangwa. Lakini polisi si ati hawajawahi mshika juu hata akisoma huku ndio walikuwa wanashikwa, wengine wanaenda na mtoa. Kuna dawa zingine unashikwa unasingiziwa maneno.
Tuliona juzi Mama Boniface na anti yake wakizungumza. Walisema ako na ndugu wengine wadogo. Familia yako iko vipi?
Ni madada.
Ni dada.
Familia yangu iko hiyo kijana ndio wa kwanza. Mimi niko na wasichana 4. Sasa nilikuwa na watoto 5.
Wote wako shuleni? Wengine?
Mmoja alimaliza form 4 lakini bado hajaenda vingine juu sasa ilikosa. Lakini kuna mwingine tena anakuja kumaliza hii mwaka. Kuna mwingine ako form 2. Na kuna kingine kako nini 2. EP2. Hapo ndio kadogo.
Tuliona mama akisema kuna mmoja ambaye alikuwa amefukuzwa shule sababu ya school fees. Ni yupi?
Anafukuzwa, lakini anafukuzwa na Mungu analeta. Saa ingine unapata kazi kaka amekuwa poa, unalipalipa hivyo.
Jonah, asante sana, tutakuacha uende ndio kaangalie kijana. Tunaweza kupigia baadaye tusikie vile anavyoendelea. NTV watakupigia tusikie vile anavyoendelea. Asante.
Asante sana.
Asante.
That's Jonah Kariuki, the dad to Boniface Mwangi Kariuki, who is still admitted to the Kenyatta National Hospital in ICU. As he said, yesterday he had to go back for another operation again. And we are all, praying and willing him quick
to pull
recovery.
through and a quick recovery
Yeah,
as well.
Indeed.
we're really praying for the best. He sounds deflated, as would be expected.
Yeah.
It's not just data. These are real people, real scenarios, and it's a worsening situation. And just like we've said, we just hope and pray for the best. As we cross over to X, to see if anybody is ready to give anybody the mic, if we can give them. Philip, if you can just speak to, I'm still stuck on you saying, it's not something that will change tomorrow. It will be a journey. I think sometimes there's an impatience to things like that because people feel this is so urgent. There's no way we can wait. What's a short-term, scenario in which we can begin to, I think even beyond these conversations, push for reforms, and maybe in comparison, model countries that have managed to, in some way, push reforms around the National Police Service?
Let me begin from the model countries. I think some of the best police forces are in the Scandinavian countries. So you have Sweden, Norway, Denmark that are doing very well. And some of the parameters of establishing what is a good police service is, number one, the level of public trust. The people trust the police service to a certain extent, and that is underpinned on the levels of transparency that a police service has with the people they serve. So, I mean, transparency, we have tried, and we have done that with the law. The issue is on implementation. I will still insist on implementation of the law. The other bit is on efficiency. And across board, we can tell that we do not have efficiency. A majority of Kenyans will tell you that they do not consider the police service efficient. But we are also saying that, acknowledging that you have very hardworking police officers, that we must also say. Police officers who are sacrificing quite a lot for this country and for the people of Kenya. When it comes to what we should do, the solution is multifaceted. I have mentioned we cannot run away from our choices on the ballot because there is an influence, there is a direct correlation to how the political class, the executive, handles matters of security and especially the police. So we cannot run away from that responsibility. I think the citizens need also to take responsibility that we elect. Let me not use the term I wanted to use. But we elect people of questionable.
We know what you mean. We elect who we elect.
Yes. So that is the first. Number two, and Navachenja asked about how we can engage with reforms.
Right.
Now, we had the former Chief Justice, David Maraga, heading a task force on police reforms. They submitted their report, and just like all the other reports from commissions and task forces, they are, lining up walls in State House. One of the things that we can do is to pile pressure on government to implement the recommendations of this task force, because they were cross-cutting. They went across the country, listened to police officers, listened to the public, and some of these complaints that we are hearing today were addressed in that task force report. So we must pile pressure, and specifically on Parliament, important as they are, we must pile pressure on them to make sure that these reports are implemented. Number
are they
three,
impotent, or do they choose to be impotent? But go on.
well, you can actually, eunuchs chose to...
you can choose impotence.
You can choose impotence,
Fair.
It benefits you.
Yes. So the other thing that we can do is to insist that the police do their job. That could come at a cost. It could come at the cost of you being beaten up, because there are many people who have, borne the cost of insisting that the police do their job. Even with this protest, there are people who have been beaten up. But we must get to a point where we have collective exhaustion. I think one of the problems we have, I've mentioned this elsewhere before, is that we get tired in shifts. The shift that got tired with, the government of Uhuru Kenyatta is not the shift that has gotten tired today. The shift that got tired with police brutality in the Moi era is part of them are now in government. They are no longer tired with, police excesses. So we must get to a point of collective exhaustion. It is only through collective exhaustion that then you can have what we have been calling, revolutions. And revolutions could come in stages. The other thing that we must do, and this on legacy media, because one of the callers talked about attending the inquest on Rex Masai. I think legacy media should also take a step in following up these cases. Because once a case has gotten out of the limelight, then you have given a license to whoever. If they want to interfere with evidence, if they want to intermeddle, they can do that because they are not under the microscope. So I think that ought to happen. But sensitization of the people, we need to be informed because you can't tell, most of the time when you tell the police, I know my rights, you may only know 2. But you need to know all your rights. You need to know all your rights and your obligations also. So we also need that sensitization.
More awareness.
Exactly.
Very helpful.
We have Rose from Kariobangi on the line. Is she still on, Philip?
Hello?
Rose, good morning.
Morning, my dear. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you very much for calling in. You'd like to contribute, maybe share your experience about police?
Yeah, but in Swahili, nataka kuongea Swahili because what we understand, like we hawkers.
Tuendelee.
Mimi, ningetaka kuchangia maneno ya polisi, vile wanafanyia wananchi. Yeah?
Tuendelee.
Kama hapa Central Station, Police Station, sio nyumba ya polisi, hapo ni business, ni nyumba ya biashara.
Kwa nini ni nyumba ya biashara, Rose?
Because kama huna pesa na umeshikwa bure,
TV yako Rose,
utatoka kwa hiyo polisi unless marafiki zako wakuchangie wakuje wakutoe.
Right.
Umewahi shikwa wewe Rose?
Guy, siwezi hesabu ni mara ngapi niliruka.
Pole sana.
Mara ya mwisho kushikwa. Mara ya mwisho kushikwa ilikuwa lini?
Kama saa hii hatushikwi, mimi kwangu mimi sishikwi na siwezi taka hata wenye wananishikaga wanisikie. Because mimi natoaga pesa zinaitwa return. Ndio kajua sikushike na niingie kazi saa 10.
Ni pesa ngapi unatoanga hiyo return?
Hiyo ni kuelewanwa tu, wanakuja wakirogota.
Na vile ulipelekwa Central mara ya mwisho walikuitisha ngapi?
Nilipelekwa kotini mara 3 nikapigwa faini ya 8,000 ilikuwa ule wakati wa Kibaki.
So hapo lakini ilikuwa kotini, haikuwa hongo Central.
Hapana, sasa hiyo ilikuwa ni ya kupelekwa mpaka kotini.
Hiyo ni wakati wa Kibaki.
Ni wakati wa Kibaki.
Kutoka hiyo time ni hii maneno ya return sasa.
Sasa ni return.
Na wanasemanga ni crime gani ama ni makosa gani umefanya?
Unauza, unahuku.
Hawking
ndio. Okay.
Makosa.
Kuhuku haijakubaliwa. And then nilikuwa nataka kusema in Nairobi hatuna station za polisi kama Central, Kamukunji, Jonisaga na Kasarani na zingine nyingi. Mimi nasema zile nishaingia.
Ukapelekwa huko.
Saa ingine uko na mashida ina fulani unataka zitatuliwe, lakini biashara yenye inakuwa police station ni very tough.
Ungependa kuona nini ifanyike? Ungependa nini kifanyike kubadilisha hii?
Ni kitu ningetaka kusema ni kama kuna watu wanaweza chunguza hii maneno ya polisi, wawache kuwa wafanya biashara kwa nyumba za serikali na ni za wananchi.
Okay.
Sawa. Asante sana Rose.
Unataka mchunguze hii ya John Saga. Na hii ya Kamukunji. Kasarani. Hiyo ndio headquarter ya business na Central.
Ya biashara.
Nyumba za biashara hata hawapiti. Ziko wazi.
Asante sana Rose.
Tafadhali mtusaidie kabisa.
Hiyo ndio kazi tutafanya.
Hatuna letu hii dunia, na wengine ni wazee kama mimi sana. Na bado najishindilia na hiyo oka because I have nothing else to do.
Asante Rose. We have others, our ex-speakers. I see we have James Mbare, who has been given the mic, and also Nyakundi Duncan. Let's start with you, James. Share with us your experience, and then we'll come to Nyakundi, your experience with the police. James? Not near. Nyakundi?
Okay, hey, my name is Dan from Kisii.
Yes.
And I've had various experiences with the police, and they vary. On the lower side, the bad side, is when like there was a robbery going on, like my neighbor was being robbed. And I called the 99 number, and they received the number. Then they asked me the exact location of my place. Then they gave me a number that I was supposed to call from the area guys who were to help me. But now that number was not even going through. That is on the lower side. On the good side is like I was in need of something that I went there and I was helped. So this thing of police is very dynamic, and I don't know. There are many sides to look at it from. But again, we should go into the root of where the problem is. Sometimes I feel like, let me give you an analogy. You can't go home to your wife sometimes and, quarrel them, beat her up, and then maybe tell her, now, I want you to prepare me food. It can't happen. So as much as we're looking at the police thing, also, like, we can't be telling police, like, we hate you guys, you guys are not doing anything, and expect them now to say, we love you guys and we're going to support you. And this thing comes from the political points of the country. And we have this love and hate thing going on, like, in the country, and it boils down to very many things. Now, the way politics is managed in Kenya, it's managed from a point of like, Duncan, we hate you.
Sorry, Duncan, in the interest of time, I'll ask you to just make your remark in about 30 seconds so we can also hear from James, and then we come and conclude.
Yeah, so whatever I'm saying, the approach that we are going to take into this matter of police brutality and all that, and the way forward is from like a sit-down point of view. Like, we need to sit down and we need to strategize, and we need to say, like, you guys, Hapa, you do guys do wrong. And Hapa, you do guys right. And finally, from also another point is that, you see, like the last lady was spoken, I say they're not supposed to be hawking. When you're not supposed to be hawking, you are taken to a cell because you've broken the law. But now when you get into the police cell, now you have to get out. And that's where the corruption comes in, because you can't be allowed to be taken to jail. You see, now there is a sit down that needs to happen. There is a sit down, and Duncan, you guys in the media, and especially NTV and all that, you need to facilitate this. Thank you.
Thank you, Duncan. James, quickly in about a minute. James Mbare.
Yeah. Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. To say that first of all, I would like to congratulate the policemen that do their job well. I'm sure that they do well, and when we bash everyone, sometimes, of course, they get discouraged. Just like the media, there's some people that you say is bad, but of course, that you are very good. So I don't have much, but I would say that probably in your reporting, also be sensitive to those policemen that actually do a good job. And I know you met with some that are very good in those stations, and some of them are also good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. As you come to, and there's Noah who says that he had come from up country, and from up country, you know, you come with food back to Nairobi. So he was carrying a chicken and a sack of unga ugali. He was stopped by a cop. Cop asked for something, gave the cop 50 bob. Cop refused, akakataa. Hiyo ndio siku nilipelekwa Central Police Station. Accusation, theft.
Okay, theft of?
Kuku and unga.
Kuku and unga.
But you had...
Yeah.
Okay, come with it. I think people also need to recognize the power dynamics. So yes, I hear what the gentleman was saying. It's a toxic relationship that we have. And as we're shedding light on both the bad and the good, it's also to recognize that they wield power. And I think Philip has said it really well. They have weapons, right? And
Quite
so,
literally, yes.
yeah, they do. And also, that example you gave of you can't beat your wife and ask her to cook happens every day. In very many. That's a whole GBV conversation. It shouldn't happen.
Saying,
I know.
Yes.
He was using it as an example. I know where them. Yeah, go ahead.
To hear their perspectives on how we approach this. I get the merit in saying we can't bash them and then expect cooperation from them.
Yeah.
I think what we can expect, I would want to say, let's go on a case-by-case basis. But the problem is the rot is systemic and it's deep, and it's more the good apples that are the standout or the abnormally, right? So now it becomes so difficult. Maybe that's another thread we need to pull at. How do I give grace to those who are trying to do a good job while not being
castigating
while castigating the system? That's good question. But maybe your parting shot, Philip, and also please touch on community policing. If it's something that we can do better, just to help maybe find alternative forms of policing.
Yeah, if community policing works, then most of these problems we have will not have. In fact, we will better deploy our police officers to other things as opposed to what they continually deal with, which becomes mechanical in very many senses. But we have talked about the police, we have talked about executive authority and command responsibility. This past week we saw police escorting goons, and maybe just to mention those who know music of old and know TPOK jazz might know a song called Luvumbu Ndoki. Luvumbu Ndoki was composed by Franco, and Luvumbu was a sorcerer, village sorcerer, and the song is a lamentation that the village sorcerer is finishing off family members, finishing off the whole village because he wants to stay in power. And I want to tell those in the police service, those in executive authority, we do not want the National Police Service to become the National Persecution Service. We can stop things where they are, we can reform, we can transform. Well, we can reform. We can reform. Let's leave it at that. We can reform. But these things need our collective concerted effort.
Thank you.
Also, it's not too late. I think realizing that when you are an agent of the state, I think I would urge anyone in any position of power to see and read through history and just see what happens when those who use you and weaponize you, when they're done with you, what happens to you.
Yeah,
it'll be a really good indication of the future and perhaps might help shift sides. But I think a conversation around alternative forms of policing and reform is something we should have. Would love to have you back, Philip. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And to everyone on X, on all our spaces and all our platforms, thank you for sharing your experiences, good and bad. Let's continue this conversation. Next week is one of the most critical weeks in our country's history, especially Wednesday. Let's go into it as measured as we can and just collaboratively continue following the news, but also lean in towards that patriotism that we are all so proud of. So thank you very much. Eric Latif, Mariam Bisha, Janet Bogwa. Have an amazing weekend and see you back here soon.